friends, happy Saturday. It is the most beautiful weekend here. It is the first weekend in May and it's like 70 degrees and sunny outside. Everything is blooming. The garden center today was packed. I mean, it is just well and truly spring here, and I cannot even tell you how good that feels. I feel like, this wasn't the longest winter ever. This was a standard winter for Minnesota, but this is my first time living in Minnesota this past winter, and it was long for me. So I am ready for spring, and I am just so excited. I don't have much interesting going on today. In fact, I'm planning to spend most of this afternoon, evening working on wallpapering this room because I really need to get that done this weekend. But I did want to start the vlog today so I could share my little garden center trip with you, which you saw in the opening clips of this vlog. And that was a ton of fun. I'm just such a sucker for a garden center. Honestly, they are the biggest saps for my money. I have to be really careful when I go to the garden center and really strict with myself because I could just blow my entire life savings at the garden center. I really could. So today I just picked up a bit more soil and some herbs, which I'm so excited about to finally have fresh herbs to cook with again. As for the rest of today, I think the only thing I have on the docket other than wallpapering is just a few random gardeny things inside. So I have to trim these daffodils and harvest the bulbs for use in the fall. I'm gonna harvest this chamomile that's dying and dry it out to use in tea, and hopefully also plant some seeds in my little seed tray. So that's kind of my plans for the afternoon. I'm gonna share my outfit because I am kind of obsessed with it. I am not usually a colorful gal, and I'm also not usually like really heavy on the patterns. So this outfit is quite out of my comfort zone, but I actually really like the combo of these two patterns. These are my ride or die Cezanne gingham pants. I've had these for like 3 years. They always come in and out of stock because they're so popular, but I'll link them. And if they're not in stock, just turn on restock notifications because they will come back in stock. And then this blouse, which is new to me actually, and I think is just so darling. I didn't think I would like it because it's open, but I just wore an undershirt under it, and that helps it be a bit warmer and less breezy. But I think the silhouette is actually quite lovely. So anyways, that's my outfit for the day. Kind of unusual for me, but I ended up really liking it. Friends, happy Sunday. I have been doing a couple hours of work this morning, but now I'm headed off to the farmers market and I'm so excited. It is the first farmers market of the season here in Minnesota. The farmers markets only run May through October because we have a shortened growing season here, but I am so excited. We went a couple times last summer and I loved it so much, and I'm just so happy that it's back. So yeah, let's get going. I'll do a little haul for you guys. It's really early in the growing season here in Minnesota, so there weren't a million gazillion things to choose from, but I did pick up some things I'm excited about. I got a bunch of greens, mostly just lettuce for salads, and then this big, beautiful bunch of spinach that I think I'll mainly use in the juicer that I'm very excited about. And then I got some lovely tulips. I think these are called like parrot style tulips, the ones with the really kind of frilly petals, and they're really beautiful, and I'm gonna put them in those two vases. And then I've already started putting things away, so I apologize for the rambly style video, but I also picked up some homemade seedy bread that I feel like will be so yummy for toast. I'm really excited about it. And then I also got some real maple syrup sourced here in Minnesota. Ours is almost out, so this was perfect timing, and it was actually way more affordable at the farmers market than it would have been at the grocery store, so that is nice. And then lastly, I just picked up some fresh free-range eggs. These are Whole Foods eggs, but in there. And yeah, honestly, a very nice little farmer's market haul considering the season, and everything was really reasonably priced. If you're based in the Twin Cities and you're curious, I prefer the St. Paul Farmers Market. I have tried a couple of them and I feel like the St. Paul Farmers Market just has like the best selection and the best vendors. I will warn you though, parking is a nightmare. Every single time I go, I say to myself that I am not going to come back just because the parking is so bad, even though I always come back. But I did finally find a big lot in the back a couple blocks away that I was able to park at. So anyways, I'm just gonna move on with my Sunday now. Hello, my friends. It has been, I think, several days since I checked in with you. I think the last time we saw each other was on Sunday, and it has just been a whirlwind week. Mainly, I did not update for a few days because I was busy wallpapering this room, which I think that might be the last time I ever wallpaper myself. It's not that it's not doable, okay? Like, I have wallpapered myself before. This room back here, I wallpapered myself. I did it in my old room. Like, I have wallpapered before. However, two things. Even though it is doable yourself, it's still not my favorite. Like, I much prefer painting or honestly any other DIY project. And B, in this old of a house, this is a 120-year-old house, all the floors and everything are unlevel. Even the walls and the door frames, everything is unlevel and kind of wonky and not perfectly square. And that just makes it so hard to wallpaper because wallpapering requires really precise angles and like lining up the seams. And it was just so hard to wallpaper this room, and it took me days and I was on a deadline. So that is kind of why the vlog cut off a bit abruptly there. But it is Thursday. I'm just coming out of a very busy work week, and I wanted to vlog some more and get some more content in this video to actually give you something to watch. So I apologize for the big jump. It's Thursday evening now, and I thought that I would A, share one of my little antique hacks with you, which I've referenced in the past, but I wanted to talk about again. And then B, I think I'm gonna walk down and show you what I've done so far in the little garden. For reference, we rent. We do not own the place we live in, and everything we do is renter friendly. This wallpaper is renter friendly. Like, everything we do with the intent to take down when we leave, just to be clear. But in this same building, there are 2 other units, so we're not the only people who live in this building, and therefore we're not the only people who use the yard. So the gardening that I've done outside is pretty minimally invasive, pretty small, and you'll see that the yard itself, it's pretty overgrown. There's lots of weeds and stuff. So it's definitely not going to be the prettiest or the most aesthetic, but I still wanted to show you what I've started doing. And then we're going to cook a nice yummy dinner for the night. And then tonight, before the night is over, I want to give you a little reading update. So that's the little plan for the day. Okay, so in the past, I have mentioned that whenever I'm at antique stores, antique fairs, thrift stores, if I ever see an empty frame that I like, I always buy it. And this was one such frame. I picked up this empty frame, like this did not originally have this print in it, at the antique fair that I took you guys along with me to a couple weeks ago. And then this print, if you watched my upstate New York vlog, was a just print. Like, it didn't come with a frame or anything, that I found in an antique store in upstate New York. And unintentionally, but in a kismet way, it was the perfect size to fit in this frame. And so I just went online. There's lots of websites online where you can order custom size matting and acrylics. And I basically just ordered a mat and an acrylic screen, and now it's just really beautiful framed print, and I'm just obsessed with all the vibes. I just think it's so beautiful. I love this fish print. I love it with the wood frame. I also honestly love that the frame's a little chipped down here. All of it together just looks so good. And honestly, I'm not usually a blue gal, but I love the blue in this case. I think it contrasts with the fish really well. So yeah, I'm obsessed, and that is why you will never catch me passing up on a good frame, and that is my number one tip to anyone else antiquing or thrifting. If you find a good frame, pick it up, because eventually you will find use for it. Now I just have to secure this in here. I haven't done that yet, but I just love the way it looks. Okay, now I'm gonna take you down to the garden. Keep in mind, most things have not sprouted yet. Like, they're literally just labeled, but they haven't actually germinated yet. So yeah, definitely not the most impressive garden, but I'm doing my best. I'm new to most of these things. I've grown vegetables before, but I've never really grown flowers. So I'm doing my best, and we'll see how everything turns out. Okay, so this first pot here is actually delphinium, and this one I just planted, so there's no sprouts yet. And coming around the side of the house, this big old beautiful lilac bush here. And then these are my sweet peas that I planted quite a while ago that have been having a hard time really taking root. They're doing okay, but they're not the happiest, and I'm hoping that they pick up more soon. But these are one of the few things that actually have some good growth on them. And then here are my bishop's flower, and I planted these a while ago, and they've like barely started sprouting, but they're really not growing much. I'm not quite sure what I'm doing wrong, because they've been this size for like a week now. And then here I planted some poppies, and there's no sprouts so far. And then coming along the side of the house, I have a few more things over here. These are my snapdragons, and I recently transplanted these. They were inside, which is why they're kind of flat, but I'm hoping they'll bounce up a little bit. Like I said, I know they're kind of sad looking. I'm doing my best. And then here I cleared out this bed, I pulled out all the weeds and put in some fresh soil, and I scattered a bunch of cosmo seeds, so I'm hoping that they'll be happy there. I think they should be. Cosmos are supposed to be pretty hardy plants. And then here I planted some chamomile, no sprouts yet because I just planted them. And then I did actually get some herbs from Home Depot to have access to for cooking, which I'm excited about. So I have mint, basil, rosemary, parsley, and thyme over here. So those actually are some established plants, which is nice. And then lastly, these two pots are larkspur, and these have been my best growers so far. I know it doesn't look like it, but I've seen the most activity out of them compared to everything else. So hopefully they get bigger. It is Friday afternoon, and it is quite warm, and I've spent a decent amount of time outside today because our latest thing has been going to the park with Ada. We used to just throw and play fetch in the small yard of our apartment building, but it is a pretty small yard, and B, Ada is such like an aggressive fetch player that she actually wore like a patch in the grass. So we've stopped playing in the yard so that the grass can grow back because we felt bad. And we've started playing fetch in the park because it's just more space for her to run, and it's enough space that she's not running in like the same spot, so she's not wearing any patches into the ground there. So anyways, we went to the park, and I also went on a walk, and it is so warm here. I feel like people have told me since I moved up to Minnesota that spring and fall are both really short here. Like, it's basically just summer and winter are the two main seasons. Then you get like 2 weeks of fall and 2 weeks of spring. And I will say that kind of seems to be the case, because I remember fall being very short. We got snow at the end of October, so that officially started winter. And yeah, we had like 2 weeks of chilly, rainy, medium temperatures here. And ever since, it's just been like 85 and sunny and like straight up like summer weather. So I don't know. I mean, it seems crazy that we're done with winter so quickly. I was kind of expecting a second wave. You know, I was expecting maybe to get some snow in May, but I don't think that's gonna happen at this point. It's just so warm, but honestly really nice. But I am a little red. I've been doing my best to like, you know, wear sun protection and put on SPF, but I think even so, I'm just like, I don't know, it's just some sun exposure, I guess. So anyways, I wanted to sit down and chat with you. I know last time we chatted, I said that I was going to read The Paper Palace in between two ice skating themed novels that I had read, because I read Icebreaker, and then my Kindle also gave me The Favorites, which is an ice dancing novel, at the same time. Like, they were both in my Kindle on loan from the library, and they came through at like the exact same time. I was worried that I was going to conflate the two if I read them back to back, so I decided to pick up The Paper Palace in between. And I liked that idea, but it got to the point where I only had like 5 days left on my loan of The Favorites, and I really needed to read it before the loan expired. So I had to put a pause on The Paper Palace. So I'll first talk about The Favorites, because that one I have actually finished. So The Favorites by Lane Fargo was an early 2025 release. I think it came out in January, and I remember it getting quite a bit of hype when it came out. A lot of people were rating it as one of their first 5-star reads of the year, because it was back in January, and it just got quite a bit of hype. People were saying it was like a very unique story. And so I will admit, this is always dangerous. I went into it with pretty high expectations, which I do think is oftentimes unfair to novels if I go into them with high expectations, because it does kind of set them up to be a disappointment in a way, because when are high expectations ever met? I feel like not that often. So anyways, personally, this novel was not my favorite. I can appreciate why it would be some people's favorites, and I can appreciate like the artistic elements of it. I do think it was well written. Like, I don't have any heavy criticisms of it. I think it's more so like a me issue, you know, it just wasn't my favorite. I will say one of the most unique things about it is it almost follows like a documentary style. I don't even know how to explain it. I've never read a book like this, but let me see if I can like get back to page 1. Hold on. So like the opening, you know, chapter is literally like an interview on a documentary. So it's like you've got the narrator, and then it talks about like a scene that's playing, and then the narrator, and it's like a literary version of the opening of a documentary, which was bizarre. I've never read a book like that, and I feel like documentaries don't really lend themselves to being written down. Like, the whole point of a documentary is like the visual nature and the auditory nature. And so I do think it was quite ambitious and very unique of this author to try and translate a documentary into a written piece. And I actually really appreciate the uniqueness of that. I think it's kind of cool to pick up a book with a style you've never read before. I think that's pretty rare these days. So kudos to her, honestly. I think that's really unique and interesting, and probably played a role in why it was a 5-star read for a lot of people. I was a little off put by that, you know, format at first. I did find it kind of clunky to get into reading, but honestly, it didn't bother me for long. Like, I got into it pretty quickly, and not all the chapters are like that. That's usually just like filler chapters giving you updates, if that makes sense. There's plenty of the book that's not in that style, and it's just in like typical written narrative style. But I thought that was very interesting. I think for me, so in terms of the novel itself, it follows 2 ice dancers, and these are 2 people who met when they were really young and are just intertwined their entire lives. Like, they come together, they go apart, they come together, they go apart, and they just like, but they can't escape each other. Like, it almost kind of seems like they're destined to be in each other's lives. And it's healthy, it's unhealthy, it's, sorry, a truck is going by. It's healthy, it's unhealthy, I don't know. And I will say, I do think that is why this book wasn't really it for me. I have a really hard time reading about super unhealthy interpersonal relationships, kind of what a lot of people maybe consider like toxic interpersonal relationships. Any media that portrays that, I have a pretty hard time consuming, including like TV shows and movies, and that's often why I will stop watching a certain TV show or movie. For example, I know a lot of people love the show Yellowstone, and I had a really hard time watching that show because of the really terrible interpersonal family dynamics. Like, it just was so hard for me to watch. And I kind of felt that way about this book at some points. I mean, the point of this novel is it's these really cutthroat athletes, and there are going to be some unhealthy behaviors, some, you know, backstabbing, for lack of a better word. Like, that is the point, you know. That's not like, you can't get a novel like this without having that. So it's not a criticism by any means, but I think that's what I was saying earlier, where I was like, I think it might have just been a me issue on why I didn't like this one, because it was just a little hard, honestly, in that way, because I will say that these characters have a lot of things to work through. Anyways, other than that, I thought it was really well written. I think the story was quite original. There was definitely a point at the end of the novel that I was completely surprised by, a plot point, and I obviously won't give anything away, but I did not see that coming, and honestly was a little like not happy about it. You know, it wasn't my favorite choice on the author's part, but you know what, like, she had her reasons, good for her. But anyways, it was a well done novel, a unique novel, an interesting novel, did a good job of giving you kind of the background of ice dancing, which is what this focuses on, and the rules and regulations and all that behind it. And I thought it was really well done, honestly. I just think wasn't really the novel for me, if that makes sense, but really interesting, and I'm glad I read it. And then I did start reading The Paper Palace, and then I paused to read the favorites, and now I have since picked it up. I'm about a third of the way through. I am enjoying it. It's definitely a bit of a rough premise because, I mean, I think the very premise of the novel, I don't think this is a spoiler. Yeah, I mean, it's literally on the blurb. The very premise of the novel is this novel follows a day in the life of a woman, you know, I think kind of middle-aged. She has like kids from like 8 to 13. She's married for a long time, and her husband and her kids are at a lake house, and then her childhood best friend, his wife, are also there visiting because they're just like family friends, and it's all happening at the same place. And basically her and her childhood best friend have like an affair. They sleep together one night, and then this book follows the next day and kind of follows this woman's decision making around whether or not to leave her husband and her current life with her children to pursue this kind of long unanswered question of a romantic relationship with this childhood best friend. And so I think the book is kind of tough in that way because it's dealing at its core with themes of infidelity and leaving behind people who, you know, maybe don't deserve to be left behind, but also maybe this woman deserves to choose herself for once. I mean, it's some really difficult concepts and questions that I think don't necessarily have a right or wrong answer. So yeah, I think there's a lot to think about with this book, and it's hard. It's a lot of gray area, which kind of makes it hard for me to talk about on here because I don't want anyone to think I'm taking like a stance one way or the other, because like I said, I think this is a complicated book because of its themes, and I do kind of love books like that because those were often the books chosen in my English courses for my English major, because those are the ones that are best written about in essays and analyzed and talked about in class. And I think that this book honestly would have been one of those books. I could see someone teaching this book at some point. And so it's been an interesting read, honestly. I'm really enjoying allowing my brain to kind of chew on the really hard questions that this novel asks. And I like the writing style. Very smooth, interesting, flowy writing style that I'm reading really quickly. I don't have complete thoughts yet, obviously, because I'm not done with it yet, but I'm enjoying it so far. I know it had pretty mixed reviews, so we'll see what I think once I finish it. And as for what's next, my Kindle just keeps throwing holds at me. I have like 3 books on my Kindle right now, so I'm gonna have to be reading those so quickly, so I'll have lots more reviews for you soon. And then whenever I get a break from all the Kindle madness, I really want to pick up Beach Read by Emily Henry. I have listened to 2 of Emily Henry's books on audiobook. I haven't actually read any of her books. I listened to Funny Story and People We Meet on Vacation. I loved Funny Story on audiobook. If you have the chance to listen to that, I listened to it on Audible. It was so good, like highly recommend. I then listened to People We Meet on Vacation because I loved Funny Story so much, and because People We Meet on Vacation is being converted to a movie soon, so I wanted to like, you know, get ahead of the curve. And I did not like People We Meet on Vacation as much. Just personally, it was not my favorite. I didn't think it was bad, it just wasn't my favorite. But I've heard really good things about Beach Read, and I really want to try Emily Henry in the read form instead of the listen form. So yeah, I'll be curious what I think whenever I get a break from my Kindle. I think that's all my reading updates for you. I will definitely have more for you in the next vlog. For now, I'm gonna go ahead and close out the vlog here because Austin and I are actually hopping on a plane this evening to go visit his family for the weekend. They're having like a bit of a celebration out there, so we're just doing a super quick trip. We're only gonna be there for like 48 hours, but I'm excited to see them, and obviously I have to pack and get ready to go. So that's kind of the plan, but I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for tagging along. It really feels like summer here. I mean, this vlog had farmer's market, garden center, park walks. I mean, it's just, I feel like it's in full swing here. So anyways, thanks for tagging along. I am so grateful that you're here as always, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, friends.